Follow the money. That's what I always say. You always follow the money. Yeah.
This is Follow the Money with Mitch Moss and Paulie Howard on VSiN.
Here we go. Welcome in. It is Follow the Money on VSiN, the Sports Betting Network. Mitch Moss along with Jonathan Von Tobel, who was in today for the Under the Weather Paulie Howard. We're live in downtown Las Vegas from the Circa Resort and Casino. Very busy 3-hour program lined up today. Of course, what happened this weekend in Super Wildcard Weekend of the NFL. Moving forward and spinning that into the divisional round numbers that we have in the matchups on the program. Nick Bogdanovich, sports gambling Hall of Famer, longtime Vegas odds maker here at Circa Sports. Zach Cohen, some best bets from him tonight. And Adam Burke, managing editor, vsin.com, with some best bets from him tonight and this week as well. JVT, how was the weekend?
It was good. It was busy. I was actually telling you right before we came on the air that I had forgotten before I walked out of the door that Ohio State, Texas had actually happened on Friday night. Technically part of the weekend recap.
Doesn't even seem possible.
It was insane. And I guess this is what we're going to get with the expanded college football playoff. Obviously, the Super Wildcard Weekend. I think maybe college football might want to rethink having one of their primetime games on a Friday night leading into a wildcard weekend because it's going to be forgotten by the time we get to Monday. But this weekend was absolutely insane. A lot of football, a lot of great football. And by the way, mixed in all of that, a lot of really good basketball games in college and pro and everything in between. So
Sure. I would say for the NFL side anyway, thank goodness for last night's game in terms of drama, because that was pretty much all we had.
Yep.
It was blowout after blowout or stink bomb after stink bomb leading into the game last night. And that was a fantastic finish and a really good game. And yet again, Jayden Daniels and this Washington offense did not punt. Think about this. What a tweet this is from Doug Clawson. Daniels has more games in his career where his team has 0 punts and 0 turnovers, 3 games overall, including the playoffs, than the combined careers of Tom Brady, Joe Montana, Peyton Manning, and Patrick Mahomes. They've combined for 2. He's done it for 3 in his rookie season.
Okay, I feel like we're misleading a little bit there with that stat. They did go for it on 4th down 5 times.
Okay.
Right? So,
but that I would also argue that was the correct move to make.
No, I know. I'm just saying, when we say like, hey man, this offense led by Jayden Daniels, they weren't scoring on every single drive, and they went for it on 5. But he was still impressive nonetheless. The lowest moment for him was on one of those goal line possessions where he misses his tight end. They're rolling him out right. For some reason, and it's weird because all year long he's pulled the trigger on harder throws, but for some reason doesn't want to do it. So he keeps it in his pocket, ultimately doesn't get there. I think that was probably his worst decision of the day. So I don't want to take away from how great he was, but generally, I like this. I think teams should be doing this more. Dan Quinn, now obviously Dan Campbell as well. This is what you do to win games. You go for it on these 4th downs. You get aggressive. You put the ball in the hands of your best players, and that is Jayden Daniels in this offense.
Here's the thing, right? At least they were consistent last night.
Yes.
Pick a lane and then stay in your lane. Don't pick and choose throughout the game. Well, we better go for it this time, although I don't know what we're going to do next time. They had a plan last night in the flow of the game. Situation called for it. And again, 4 times they went for it on 4th down in field goal range. They got it twice. They failed twice. They also scored 14 points. If they settled for the field goal every time, the most they could have done was 12.
Yes.
Hello, math majors out there. Okay, so that's my thing that I've said for 15 years probably. Like in college football, there was a season where Oregon football, Mark Helfrich said, I think we're going to go for 2 every single time. Mm-hmm. And I actually think that you can make the case that going for 2 every single time is totally fine as long as you have like a design where your short yardage plays are good and they work and they're creative and they're effective. The problem so many times is that the short yardage plays in college and the NFL are garbage.
Yes.
So I have a bigger problem with that than anything else. But it proved to work last night for the team. And I'd say that maybe my hottest take of the entire season in the NFL, and I will also be consistent with this because this goes back to after the Commanders beat the Bengals Monday night, week 3, I said, why is Jayden Daniels not the MVP right now of the season? If you go back and look what the Commanders have been like, with the exception of the 1 year by RG3, also his rookie year, for the most part, like last 25 years, irrelevant and terrible organization. And last year's offensive numbers were rock bottom. This year, at or near the top in major metrics across the board. Mm-hmm. And I know the replacements at coaching staff, right, with Dan Quinn taking over as the head guy, Kingsbury, the OC, massive difference, massive upgrade. They weren't winning 13 games, including last night with Sam Howell at quarterback. This guy's the reason why. And if I had a vote, which I don't, but if I had a vote for the MVP, and I've said this all year long, I would have seriously given that guy consideration.
Yeah, I for me to be strong, I think you include them on the ballot if we're talking about ranking, and maybe inside if you have, they'd only rank 3 though, correct?
I think it's 5 now.
If it's up to 5, then I think you talk about including him in the ballot. Maybe not first, but I think your overall point. Look, it's also proof of concept that we always talk about these teams and how poor they are run. Mm-hmm. It starts from the top and works its way down. When you are a well-run machine at the top, when you have people making the decisions to hire the people that make better decisions, to then hire the people to go and find the pieces that you need, all of a sudden everything works into motion. So you see a team like Cleveland, I saw this getting thrown out there, right? A team like Cleveland who now goes into this draft with the 2nd overall pick, much like the Commanders did last year. Look what you can do in the span of a year if you make all of the right decisions.
Correct.
But it starts at the top. But generally, I wouldn't disagree with anything. And, I was talking with Gil Alexander about this when I was on with him the other day, because he had us submit our Rookie of the Year ballots, like all the regulars on the thing. And I still pick Brock Bowers because my stance is that Brock Bowers is the best at his position as a rookie, and I feel like that gets him the win for Rookie of the Year over for the older Jaden Daniels for me. Having said that, Gil's retort was he changed the franchise, and to me that is worth more than the statistical output that a Brock Bowers did for somebody like the Raiders, and I can totally understand that.
That's everything I just said about the MVP fits into that exact sentence that you just pulled out from Gil then.
Yep.
And so he and I would be on the same. This team was nobody. I went there a couple years ago, stayed in DC for 4 days. My first time ever there. Great city, loved it, had an awesome time. And my wife and I walked or Ubered everywhere around the city. And I said it the day I got back, my biggest observation, Snyder still owned the team. He had to get rid of him. It was on the verge of happening. I did not see a single Commanders logo anywhere in that city and I paid attention. I made it a thing because it was in the news at that point. Walking across like several blocks, bars, stayed real close to where the Wizards play their home games or whatever. Nothing. There wasn't one place promoting Commanders football because nobody cared because they were so bad for so long.
So to your point, I'm a crappy millennial, so I like TikTok. Please, come on, government, do the right thing. But what I say that is there was a TikTok video that popped up on the feed. It was this older guy, right? Looked like he's like in his 40s, 50s. And he's watching the end of that game last night. And he's telling his wife who's recording him, yeah, I'm going to cry if they win this game. I'm going to cry. You don't understand. They have sucked. I'm like 45 years old. It's been terrible for the longest time. Jaden Daniels is the best player, and he's got tears in his eyes, and he's watching this kick go through. So to your point about changing the franchise, the direction, caring about it, absolutely. I totally understand what this has been, and you see it now for everybody. We know people who are Commanders, Washington Redskins fans around this city. It's been crazy to see that this actually makes a difference for these people personally.
Okay, so are they live in the divisional round against Detroit? The betting market would tell you that they thought the opening number at the Westgate Superbook here in Las Vegas was way too high. They opened 10.5.
And going down that path of fading these favorites has really been profitable for a lot of people.
Oh, sure.
So
it happened again this weekend, right?
Yep.
Money on the Steelers before game time. Good luck. I said this all the week last week. I'm probably not going to bet the game, but there's absolutely zero chance I'm making the case for Pittsburgh. So if you want him, go ahead. Be my guest. I'm not doing it.
So I've been very upfront about this. Of all the teams in the National Football League, the Commanders are the one that I have had the worst read on. I have been lower on Washington than most, and I have been wrong about that. I think Super Contest, you go back, I was like 1-5 in games that I selected with them.
Wow, really?
I have not had a good read in them in any way, shape, or form. So I say that before I say that I would rather go with Detroit here in this spot than Washington, because I am still waiting for this defense to show its averageness, which was what every metric would tell you, right? They're pretty average defense in the NFL, and we saw glimpses of it for Tampa Bay. Baker Mayfield looked pretty good last night for the most part. 15 of 18, 185 yards, 2 touchdowns. Problem was, couldn't get his hands on the football.
They never had the ball.
Yep, 35 minutes of possession for Washington. So if you can do that, and that's theoretically, that is a possibility with how banged up Detroit has been defensively. If you can hold on to the ball for that long, play keep away from Goff, Ben Johnson, and that offense, then you're going to be pretty alive here. But I feel like if there was going to be an offense that was going to expose a lot of what you see in some of the data for Washington's defense, it would be going on the road to take on Detroit.
Montgomery's going to be back.
Mm-hmm.
They have a week to prepare.
Yep.
After their bye week this year in the regular season, Detroit went to Dallas and won 47-9. And in that game, Ben Johnson is a mastermind at calling plays and an offensive coordinator. I always say, like, he's going to bring the good stuff in the game when they have extra time to prepare. He's not going to, why would they withhold anything in this game?
Sure.
People had a major problem when they did that stumble play against the Bears. They're like, why would you do that and not save it for the playoffs? It's because he saw it happen against the Bears. And oh, by the way, if you've paid attention at all to Ben Johnson, like that's one play out of like 1,000 that he can come up with.
He's probably got like 20 more.
Yeah, exactly right.
So it doesn't really even matter. And let's look, we talk a lot about this offense for very good reason. Let's give Aaron Glenn some credit because they had a really good defensive game plan on that Sunday night against Minnesota. And he pulled it out, and that was great. And so now, look, they already did it. It's rookie quarterback on the road against Tampa Bay. We know about everything, and they went out and they did it. They got the victory there. But now you got to go. Arguably, it's interesting. It's like these two, you open up talking about the franchise direction and changing a franchise. Think about these two franchises and where they've been throughout the course of the history. And now one dream has to die for the other to live, for the other to move on. So now you got to go on the road and take on them in this spot, given what this team has been through. And look at what Detroit did emotionally in that Monday night game against San Francisco, in that they know, right? Hey, we lost to this team. We're going to put everything into that. They also know that they came out short in an NFC championship game, obviously, and want to put everything into it. It's going to be a really interesting spot. But I just go back to defensively, I haven't trusted Washington, but I've also had the worst read on this team. So I would not feel comfortable personally.
Let's spend a couple more minutes expanding on where it opened at the Westgate compared to other books, and also what you said there about favorites. Betting favorites here has been the way to go in the NFL for a while now.
Yeah, I'll just say this to set it up. I'm very surprised at the surprise of where the Westgate Superbook opened their number.
Yeah,
because there's a lot of people who have been belly aching about these favorites coming in, and I know you're the master of teases, but I'll tease like this. I thought you had the answer to this problem when we had a pregame crosstalk weeks ago on VSiN Primetime.
Okay, so we'll share that coming up as well. Big day, by the way, for us here on Friday here on the network, as we are going to be launching again on Sirius XM channel 158. That's this Friday. The entire network can't wait. Been a while, but we make our return coming up on Friday here on the Vegas Stats and Information Network. And also, he improved to 15-2 ATS in the second half of this season. We'll tell you who coming up next.
This is Follow the Money on VSiN.
Every Monday at this time, longtime Vegas odds maker, sports gambling Hall of Famer, Nick Bogdanovich joins the program as he does today. He is on the Progressive guest line. Good afternoon, Nick. Thanks for the time today. How are you?
Doing great, fellas.
So, okay, the wild card round, it continued in the NFL until last night, for the most part, right? The Texans won outright as a dog to begin things, but after that, it was all favorites, covering, basically no problem. With that in mind, I know that some of these games had some steam before kickoff on the dogs. How was the weekend overall in the NFL?
Yeah, it was a really solid weekend for us in the NFL. It just fell right for us because we had some big players in town for the weekend, and we played lucky with them. That really boiled down. It wasn't a genius move on our part, but I mean, sometimes you got to play a little lucky, and we won our bigger decisions. So the Charger game was perfect. We needed the Texans outright, so that ended up being a really good game. And last night we needed the Commanders or Redskins, whatever you call them. What do you guys call them these days? Do you still call them the Redskins or just the Commanders?
I like the football team still.
Actually, I'm a big fan of WFT or like a football. Was it in soccer like a Washington FC?
FC, you know? Football club. Yeah.
I like that football team thing. So, yeah, hats off to Jaden Daniels and them. They get the job done. Probably were the better side there looking at the box score. I was asleep in bed battling this flu like Paulie. But, yeah, hats off to the Redskins. That's pretty good, pretty impressive job for Jaden Daniels to go in there year one and one, make the playoffs, two, get a playoff victory. So hats off to Washington football.
All sick on his birthday, coincidence or bad beat? One of us is asking that question. All right, Nick, let me ask you this. Big picture, we keep asking about these favorites, right? These favorites keep coming in, these favorites. But the market's also showing a really strong resistance to allowing these numbers to get too big. But why do you think that is? Like maybe the gap between these bad teams and good teams is larger than it should be, and the market should stop steaming some of these underdogs and then continue to ask afterward why the favorites keep coming in.
Yeah, I think it's that's just the evolution. It'll equal itself out. So like this week with Buffalo and Baltimore being around pick, that's one you don't have to worry about. And then you got a couple 8-point favorites. So maybe the Texans shock the world, or maybe the Commanders go in and shock the world and level some of these numbers out. But yeah, I think it's just this way every year. I really do. And there's a market out there for a reason. And the market works. So, it's up to each individual joint how big of a liability they want to take on.
Yeah. What did you make the Lions Commanders number, by the way? And what do you think of that right now where it's at? Lions around 8.
Yeah, I think that's a perfect number for it. Obviously, the Lions, of any team that has ever been in the playoffs, they needed a couple weeks off more than anyone in the world. And, man, they look good against the Vikings in Week 18, and now they're going to be a little healthier and rested and ready to roll. So they're going to be a tough out, but Detroit-Philly would be one hell of a championship game. I hope that's the way it comes. Not that I'm rooting for chalk, but that's the game I really want to see, because that Philly defense is pretty special, and that Lion offense is pretty special. So I'd like to see what would win out there.
Well said. What do you think tonight? How has the action been since this game got flipped from L.A. to Arizona and the Vikings clinging to a 2-point favorite here against the Rams?
Yeah, it's been mostly Viking money. Once it flipped to Arizona, I think we opened Vikings 1, and it's been up to 2. So little Viking money. Just crazy the thing going on with the Fires. We'll see how distracted the LA team is. I mean, I don't know if any of the players' houses are involved or friends of their houses are involved, but certainly can't be a good spot, a good situation for all those LA guys. So Minnie's been pretty rough all year. I can understand why the money on the Vikings came in. It's just really boils down to who do you trust more in a big game, Stafford or Darnold? And I'd have to say Stafford, but we'll see what happens.
What about Houston, Kansas City? Anything early that's been notable for you guys?
No, not yet. Hell of a game, though. It's really interesting. If Stroud can play halfway decent, I think the Texans got a puncher's chance. I mean, KC's played nothing but close games all year. Now, I know they got a few more decks on hand, and they got the bye going for them, and it's playoff time, and that's when Patty shines. But Houston's got a really, really solid defense. They're tough as snot, and if CJ can just play a halfway decent game, I think that one could be really interesting come fourth quarter.
Follow the money here on VSiN, the Sports Betting Network. Our guest, Sports Gambling Hall of Famer, longtime Vegas odds maker Nick Bogdanovich, and he is with us here on the Progressive Guest Line. Have you bet the national title game yet? Ohio State and Notre Dame, and the Buckeyes 8.5 point favorites right now, total 45.5, Nick.
I did not. My number would have called for a bet at the higher number, but I never did pull the trigger. I made Ohio State like 6.5. We opened 10.5. It's down to about 8. We banked a little early sharp Notre Dame money, so there'll be no shortage of Ohio State money later in the betting cycle. So we banked a little Irish money. But yeah, I just hope the Irish show up and play, and it's a hell of a game. The last two have been really close. So I don't think Ohio State can get rid of Notre Dame. They're just too well coached, too good a defense, and just solid on offense. So everyone remembers that Ohio State has put together really 2 monster games, and then Texas had first and goal from the 1. Otherwise, we're not talking about them anymore. I just still can't believe they didn't try to pound it in 4 times from the 1, which is impossible to stop. But I guess they did find a way to stop it, didn't they?
How bad was the pitch, in your opinion, watching that game live? I could not believe that play was called.
Terrible. I mean, if you why not bring in Arch and
yep.
Just go forward 4 times, see if you can stop that semi wildcat or whatever. They couldn't stop on the 1 4th and 2. So yeah, I was horrific play calling. That definitely was an ugly series of events, those 4 plays.
That to me is actually the kicker. Like you mentioned, Nick, they brought him in on a massive 4th and 2, Arch Manning, and he converted it with a pretty big run, and they didn't trust him in the red zone, which was wild. What about the total for the national championship game? Where did you guys? I think you guys opened with 46. Are you down to 45.5? But money coming in on the under, assume?
Yeah, it looks like we opened 45 and sitting 44.5. So yeah, very little on that yet, but it could be one of those where you just make a parlay. You play Notre Dame and under, or Ohio State and over, and try to get a little 2.61 for your money.
Yeah, where do you think the number closes? By the way, the point spread.
Yeah, I'm thinking like a little above 7, so 7.5, 8.
Okay.
I think is a good neighborhood. I think 7's auto lay with Ohio State, but anything above it, I think you're getting an awful live dog with the Irish.
It's a pretty weak college basketball card tonight, but tomorrow night it is absolutely fantastic. Let me throw a couple of matchups at you and see where you make these numbers. Kentucky is hosting Texas A&M. What do you have there?
Kentucky and A&M. I got a little lower. I think I got Kentucky. I made Kentucky 5.5. A&M's on a roll right now. One of their key players is still out, so you got to check that. He's worth a couple points. So he's missed the last few games, but they played well without him. So I think I made Kentucky 5.5.
Okay. Also in the SEC, Ole Miss, very good team, really nice season, taking on Alabama, now playing great basketball. That's in Alabama. What would you make that number?
I made Alabama 8. So looks like I hope it keeps going up. I'd love to take 10 with Ole Miss. Our coach is down there doing great things. So I'd love to take 10 in that game. It's sitting 9.5 everywhere right now.
What do you think the Broom injury means for Auburn here short term as they're playing Mississippi State tomorrow night?
They can do without him short term. I don't think they win at all without him, but regular season kind of games, they won't miss him too much. They got plenty of depth. But yeah, definitely need him for the tournament. So that's the second scare. He had one earlier too, and now a second one. So hopefully we're not seeing a theme here, because Auburn is a very fun team to watch, and obviously one of the 2 or 3 betting choices right now to win it all.
What about the one of the late night tips tomorrow? Colorado State, San Diego State. What do you do with the Aztecs coming off the beatdown at the Pit?
Well, that was something. I made the San Diego State game 7. Got no real opinion, but Colorado State, I watched quite a bit of that UNLV game. They played well. And San Diego State's not a team that'll get away from anyone. So if this thing got to 10, I might be interested in the Rams.
Very cool. All right, Nick, awesome to talk to you as always. Have a good week, okay?
All right, guys. Good luck to everyone.
There you go. Nick Bogdanovich, Sports Gambling Hall of Famer here on the Progressive Guest Line.
If you're ready to try something different, sign up to start playing the Ponies First Bet. First Bet is U.S.-based, offers wagering on hundreds of races every day from across the country and around the world. Sign up at firstbet.com. That's the number one, stbet.com. Use promo code VEASAN200. Claim a 20% rebate for your first 60 days up to $200. Head to firstbet.com today.
Good action. Last night's game was awesome. Down to the wire like that.
This one on paper looks like it should be that too. It's Sean McVay versus the new Sean McVay and Kevin O'Connell. Like, this should be a great game tonight.
And our buddy, Paul Charchian, will make a strong case for a player prop in the game tonight. Find out who he likes coming up on Follow the Money. It's VSiN, the Sports Betting Network.
That's what I always say. You always follow the money. Yeah.
This is Follow the Money with Mitch Moss and Paulie Howard on VSiN.
Welcome in. We're live as always, downtown Las Vegas. Circa Resort and Casino is the spot. Paulie's out today, a little under the weather. JVT filling in. You're shaking your head.
No, it's just I was just looking baseball news in January, but I know we're waiting for.
I saw this. I know where you're going to go.
Sasaki and where he's going to ultimately end up. Shocker: the Dodgers and Padres are among the finalists here, with the Toronto Blue Jays as well, and I'm sure the Dodgers will get him. And
he'll make up his mind by January 23rd, I believe.
Yep.
Okay, so if he goes to the Dodgers, where do they go in terms of the future board? They're going to be the heaviest favorites that I can ever remember.
Yes. It's going to be so obnoxious.
I think I saw the other day that they're 2-1 at one book.
Yeah, so what are we talking, like plus? I mean, they're 360 at DraftKings, like you said, 2-1 somewhere else. What are we talking? At least 2-1, probably universally, and then maybe shorter than that.
Wow,
that's so early, dude.
Lord.
Come on, please.
All right, let's get some best bets for tonight. Senior editor at the website vsin.com. Zach Cohen joins the program now. Great Twitter handle. It's at Betting on X. Good afternoon, Zach. Thanks for the time today. How are you?
I'm good. How are you guys?
Doing really well. What do you make of the game tonight now? The shift from L.A. to Arizona, Minnesota, a 2.5-point favorite in this game. They played before. Thursday night game. Rams got them 30-20. How are you going to approach this from point spread, total player prop perspective here?
Yeah, so I took the Vikings minus 139, but I'd be, happy to lay the 2.5 if you want to. I'm curious to see what the field looks like in terms of the fans. I think that a lot of people thought there'd be a really good turnout for the Vikings in LA if that game were to be played, at SoFi. And I'm wondering what it's going to look like, in this game in Arizona. But I still think that this team is just a little better than Los Angeles on both sides of the ball. They're very, very similar in terms of EPA per play, but, very different in EPA per play allowed. This Minnesota team was second in the league in EPA per play allowed this season. Los Angeles, was a bottom 10 team in that regard. I just think that this Vikings team, a lot of people want to say they have a bad secondary. Maybe they do, but Brian Flores is really, really good at disguising that. So I think they're going to get a lot of pressure on Stafford. The secondary will be just fine. I think that Minnesota is going to be able to move the ball pretty easily. I think last week we saw Darnold play, maybe his worst game of the season, and I'd be really surprised if he did that again. There were a lot of throws that were there for him that, he was just a little bit high on. I think he's going to get them this week.
Are you going to go to the game?
I'm not going to go to the game. Okay. I'm a Howie Mandel type of hypochondriac, and there's these, there's this quademic going around, so I'm staying inside.
Come on now. Out in your backyard. I'd go take an opportunity to get this thing done. So nothing else for a player prop, anything like that's all you had for the game?
I also have Jordan Addison to score a touchdown at plus 140. And, it just really boils down to he had scored 5 touchdowns in the previous 4 weeks before that game last week, and Darnold missed him in the end zone again. They've been running a lot of really good plays for Addison to just kind of shake free behind the defense. And it's been happening, where he's pretty much unguarded in the end zone. And I think that there's going to be some opportunities there just because of how much, Justin Jefferson commands on his side of the field. There's opportunity for, guys like Addison to shake free on the other side of the field. And I think we're going to see that here.
Zach, I've noticed that sportsbooks have already put up a lot of player props for the divisional round. Have you taken a peek at that at all yet, or have you bet any sides in these matchups that we're going to have coming up next Saturday and Sunday?
I've not looked at player props yet. I do really like the Texans against the Chiefs. It's a little bit scary just because CJ Stroud has been, a Jekyll and Hyde act all season. And really, we have not seen the best of him at all. But I thought he played really well last week against Los Angeles. And I still think that Houston's defense is really good. I know there's been some very shaky performances this year. I know the division's not good, but we saw in a big, big game last week, they showed up on both sides of the ball. And I just think the Kansas City, they'll probably win this game, probably go on to win the Super Bowl, and I'll look like an idiot for doubting them all season, but I do think that the Texans can keep this game somewhat close.
All right, let's transition over to the NBA. Sneaky good card tonight while a playoff game is going on in the National Football League. For our audience, too, by the way, Draymond Green officially ruled out, so if you saw that line move, that is why he is ill and has a back issue. But let's go to one game that I know you had your eye on, but some injury news here. Memphis, Houston, 3.5 now in favor of Houston. Totals dropped to about 232.5.
Yeah, I'd be waiting on this game now because John Morant is now questionable, but I do like Memphis if he ends up playing. I'm not sure that's going to happen now, but I just think when you're looking at these two teams, the reason I liked it when I wrote it up when Morant was supposed to be playing is both of them are great defensively. Houston is just lacking a little bit offensively, and I think that Houston's also without Tari Eason and Jabari Smith Jr., not at full strength right now, and while the same is true of Memphis, they have most of their main guys, and I just think that Alperen Şengün, as good as he can be in the paint, the Grizzlies have some good answers for him with Jaren Jackson Jr., a defensive player of the year candidate, and Zach Edey, just a massive, massive human being. It's going to be hard for Şengün to kind of get himself going, and I don't trust the perimeter options for the Rockets against a really good defense.
All right, I was contemplating a prop bet tonight on Anthony Edwards with his threes. It's 3.5 tonight, respectable juice. I have not bet it yet, but my arm is very twistable. Go ahead, tell me why you like it.
Yeah, I took the over on 3.5 at minus 120. He's just been on fire lately. I believe he's made at least 4 threes in 7 of his last 9 games. Went 0 for 5 against Memphis last game, but that is a team that really defends the three-point line at a high level. The Wizards absolutely do not. They are second worst team in the league in terms of three-point makes for opponents this year. There's going to be some really good looks to go around in this game. I just think that Edwards, if they end up not blowing them out, if he has to play meaningful second half minutes, he's going to go over that 4 mark.
Yeah, and later tonight, too, one of the nightcap contests, San Antonio Spurs taking on the Lakers, 3.5, 221.5. But you got a player prop here, right?
Yeah, I have Julian Champagnie over 11.5 points, rebounds, and assists. This is a really surprising line for me because he's averaging 12 points per game this season. He goes over it usually on his points alone. There has been some games lately where he has not played more than 20 minutes, kind of in and out in the doghouse for Johnson this year. But I do think that against the Lakers, a 37.7% three-point shooter is going to find some minutes just because Los Angeles does fall asleep defending that three-point line. You're going to want your best shooters out there. And he's playing really well against LA this season, averaging 14 points, 6.5 rebounds per game in 2 meetings with them. I just thought this was a really, really low mark.
Do you think, by the way, I wanted to ask really quick. I know Thibodeau is a psychopath. Are they going to make Brunson play? It's a second leg. It's a back-to-back. It's the third game of 4 nights. Do you think he's playing tonight? He's a game-time decision.
I think so. I think that whenever the Knicks have guys that can play, if it's an option, they end up playing.
Oh, hold on. Do I not have this right? Brunson was hurt and injured yesterday against the Bucks, yeah?
Yeah.
And in a blowout, he came back in and played anyway?
I believe that was the case. Yeah, they scored like 140 points.
Yeah, it was never a game. They absolutely torched the Bucks. I'm watching the NFL. I'm getting reports saying, Brunson, this looks bad. He's back in the game. I'm like, wait a second here. What?
Get back out there, kid.
He showed some mercy. He took the starters out with like 5 minutes left in the fourth.
Up by 30.
But then he called them all pansies as they walked off the court.
Stepped on Brunson's toe.
No kidding. Anything else in the NBA?
No, that's it for me tonight.
Okay. Here you go. Tennis, one of your favorite sports to bet on. Right? Aussie Open going on. Loaded card for you. What do you like?
Yeah, I love betting the Aussie Open. I've been stretching out my hours like a relief pitcher turning into a starter. I like Giovanni Pericard against Gael Monfils. It's about minus 128 right now. You're getting a better number on it than I gave out on the website. This is a 6'8" Frenchman with maybe the best serve in the history of tennis, which is a wild thing to say, but this guy is kind of like a Victor Wembanyama of tennis, and I think that he's playing against his fellow countryman, Gael Monfils, a 38-year-old that won a tournament last week, had to play 6 matches in a week. I think that Monfils is going to be very tired and is going to have a lot of trouble dealing with the youngster's giant serve. So I'm playing in Giovanni Pericard money line, and I also really like Emma Navarro minus 147 against Peyton Stearns. Navarro is an American that had 2 very deep runs at majors last year. She's off to a bit of a slow start in 2025, but she's just a really, really good big match player, and her opponent, Peyton Stearns, is a little bit shaky as a server and really shaky in big moments. That's going to be big for me at a major. I just think that for as good as Stearns is from the baseline, there are going to be opportunities for Navarro to just lean on her expertise that she got last year.
You're awesome in tennis. You love the sport, obviously. It comes right through as you're talking about it. Do you honestly, do you stay up and watch all of it when they play in Australia?
My wife loves it, but I just set a bunch of alarms for like 2 a.m., 4 a.m. If there are big matches, I'm waking up at really weird hours. I'm not staying up completely. I probably stayed up until like 12 last night, but if there are big matches at like 3 or something, I will get back up.
You will. That's dedication right there. Are you live betting as well or no?
Not really. I'm not big on live betting tennis. I don't really know why. I should be doing it a little bit more, but no, not live betting it.
I just fired, so I'm in. On the 2 place. I got to watch something tonight. Let's do this.
100%.
Thing.
I'm doing it during the break.
They're actually pretty early, too, for us.
I was going to say, one of them's like 6:45, isn't it?
Yep.
See?
Yep.
Okay, so that's coming up in a few hours right now.
Yeah.
Then. That's it? Okay. Hey, Zach, that was awesome. Our audience can follow you on X. You're at Betting on X, and you have a ton of plays like every single day on the website, which is vsin.com.
He's on Blue Sky, too.
Is it the same?
It's on Betting on Blue Sky? Is that what it is?
Is it betting on Blue Sky?
It's not betting on Blue Sky. I think it's Zachary Cohen, Blue Sky. I have no idea. They're very long, difficult names on that website.
Well played, though, JVT. Good luck tonight and this week. Thank you.
Thanks, guys.
Yep, there you go. He joined us on the Progressive Guest Line.
Love Zach. Former trio, part of the trio of the Harvard Handicappers pod. Rest in peace.
Yeah, I had somebody ask me about that podcast the other day.
Really? You're a liar.
Not lying.
I was going to say you're lying. Why would you do that to me?
Because
I already get enough
you
from
were busting his onions, so now I had to give it back to you.
Hey, SiriusXM, you know what is back, though? Our channel. That's right. Go to channel 158, SiriusXM. We will be back on January 17th. Very much looking forward to it. The Sports Betting Network in its entirety on SiriusXM. And remember, of course, Dustin and Patrick back as well. VSiN Live on Mad Dogs. Check that out, 7 p.m. Eastern time every single day. That is live already. So you can check that out. But the full VSiN lineup back in your cars, 158 on January 17th.
I will throw this out there, though. I would do a podcast with you if we specifically talked only about betting futures.
Oh, I'd be down with it.
I think that'd be fun.
What do we call it? Back to the Future?
I haven't really thought about a name yet.
Oh, you got to come on, game plan it, make PowerPoint
once or twice a week, maybe.
There you go. I was told it's an old segment. Back to the Future.
Track to the Future.
Let's do it.
We haven't done that in a long time. Yeah, it was a good segment.
Let's do it. I think we could do that, right?
You're going to have something to talk about constantly,
all the time. Get into those baseball futures.
100%.
I love it.
Cross-sport parlays.
Had Brian Wu at 750 to 1 last year to lead the league in strikeouts. did not come true. But I love that.
Those are fun to bet.
I was about to curse.
Yeah.
Let's get it done.
I was talking to Scott Sanders. He had his 50th birthday here this week. He loves betting the cross-sport parlays. Yeah, so he needs Ohio State to win the title for a big one. I want to run this down and get your opinion on this. Super Bowl MVP odds compared to their actually team's future number. We'll do that coming up next.
This is Follow the Money on VSiN.
Huge game tonight, National Football League.
Oh.
The final one. Well, are you being a little pessimistic here? What's your problem?
No, I thought that you were I thought you were being sarcastic. You were going like, hey, Alabama and A&M and Jackson State going at it.
I can't even joke around about the college basketball card. But maybe our next guest, Adam Burke, joins the program now. He is the managing editor over at our great website, vsin.com, and he is on the Progressive Guest line. Good afternoon, Adam. Thanks for the time today. How are you?
Hey guys, how's it going? I'm good. It is a big slate in college basketball. There's no doubt about it.
It's about as dead of a slate as you're ever going to find. Maybe you have a bet. We'll find out here coming up in a few minutes. I know that you did bet this Monday night game that we have tonight between the Rams and the Vikings. What did you settle on here between these two?
Yeah, I wound up taking over 47.5 in this game. I mean, in the first game that we had, I know it was on a short week. I know Minnesota was in a really bad spot, right? Coming off the Lions loss. They had to fly all the way out to California, play in that game. But Matthew Stafford and Sean McVay's offense handled the blitz extremely well in that game. In fact, Stafford wasn't even pressured in that game. So they had the right game plan. Also, they used Kyron Williams a little bit more as a receiver in that one than what we've seen throughout the course of the season here. I think they're going to be able to move the football. And Sam Darnold played well in that first game against the Rams as well. So I think both quarterbacks actually find some success in this game tonight. Obviously, it's a little bit of a strange situation, playing in a neutral site and all of that. But Stafford's been great with very little time to throw. Pro Football Reference says he has a 17-4 touchdown interception ratio with less than 2.5 seconds in the pocket. So I think the Rams can score. I think the Vikings will score in this game too. I like the over 47.5 in this one. As far as a side goes, you could tell me this game ends any number of ways. Vikings win, Rams win, Vikings blowout, Rams blowout, and I wouldn't be surprised. So I just kind of thought that the over is something that, you know, had a little bit more predictability to it than either side for this game.
Yeah, well said. Well said there. Looking ahead to the divisional round, I made one bet so far, and it was as soon as the line came out yesterday, I grabbed Baltimore plus 106. On the money line, my thinking was there was no way it was going to go up from 1.5 to 2, or certainly not to 2.5. It would never touch 3, with Buffalo being the favorite here. And I just think that this is going to go back and forth maybe all week long on the money line, right, where Buffalo might end up going off as like a 1-point favorite overall. But did you bet that game, or did you grab anything else in the divisional round?
No, I haven't grabbed anything yet. I am pretty interested in Washington plus 9.5 here. I think it's just such a high variance game between the Commanders and the Lions. I mean, obviously the total implies that with a total of 55.5. I mean, you know, we know that Jared Goff has played really well. Obviously, it was important for them to get the number 1 seed, so he's able to stay indoors throughout the course of the postseason here. But Jaden Daniels just kind of carries this team all over the place for Washington, and he's done a really, really good job ever since it seems like he's kind of gotten a little bit healthier from the rib injury that he had, about a couple of months ago now, whatever that was, 6 weeks ago. He's kind of getting back to normal here, where he's hanging in the pocket a little bit more. He's willing to make some more plays kind of with his legs. Of course, we saw that third down play that he made yesterday. I think they're going to be able to score in this game. You know, we kind of thought that Aiden Hutchinson going down for the Lions would kind of expose some weaknesses on defense. It took a while, but we eventually got to that point. I think people may have forgotten about that a little bit with how well they played against the Vikings in Week 18. So I think Washington plus 9.5 is probably going to be my favorite side here of the divisional round. And I don't know what to do with that Baltimore and Buffalo game, where I know Baltimore dominated the first game, but I don't know. There's just something about it that kind of feels to me like Buffalo is going to be the side in this game. That being said, I mean, I know it's a little bit of a higher scoring total, 51.5, but you're going to see if this line kind of stays where it is and you do maybe get the 1.5 that's out there or something like that, you're going to see so many Chiefs and Bills teasers out there.
Oh, yeah.
I think it's going to be interesting to see how those play out.
Yeah, are you going to be on them? You like this Chiefs team?
I don't like this Chiefs team, but the problem is I don't really like this Texans team much either. Obviously they overcame, a very slow start there in that game against the Chargers, but this kind of feels like what we saw last season for Houston, where They're at home. They blow out the Browns in a spot where they're not getting any respect whatsoever. Kind of a similar thing here with the Chargers. And then they went and lost in pretty lopsided fashion to Baltimore, although the Ravens did score a bunch of points in the fourth quarter as Houston just kind of ran out of gas in that one. I could see this game playing out in similar fashion. So maybe Houston first half, as we start to see that market kind of set up shop a little bit and settle in. That may be something I take a look at in that game.
Yeah. By the way, what you were saying about the Detroit-Washington game is exactly what I was thinking. So many different possible outcomes. Like, you could tell me that this is going to end with a Lions blowout, a Washington win. Nothing's going to surprise me at all here.
Yeah, I mean, again, you just look at the variance level of this game with a total in the mid-50s. I mean, we see that in the NFL playoffs because you've got so many gifted quarterbacks that are out there. But, we see it here in this game because these two defenses are very suspect. And, Jared Goff has played well at a top 10 type of level. He's not an elite quarterback like a Josh Allen, Lamar Jackson, anything like that. So I do think that this is the type of game where we will see, a lot of points, a lot of back and forth. Daniels is taking good care of the football, which is really important, I think. I just think that the Commanders, this could be a last possession wins type of game. And if that's the case, then Washington's not getting blown out here.
Adding to the variance, over under 8.5 fourth down attempts between the two teams.
Oh, we need a prop on that, actually.
Right? That would be a fun market to put up there. How many fourth down attempts between these two teams in this game?
That's a
Commanders
great call.
went for it on, 5 fourth downs yesterday? So
at least 4 that were in field goal range.
Yeah. I think they were 3 of 5 on fourth downs.
3 and 5 overall.
Yeah.
I'll ask both you guys this, because a lot of the talk is always going to be about rookie quarterbacks starting on the road. Well, Daniels was last night. Bo Nix, obviously another guy. It does not typically go well for that quarterback in that spot, but don't we feel like Jayden Daniels is maybe built a little bit different? Like, this guy is up here in a separate tier compared to a lot of these other rookie quarterbacks from previous years?
Yeah, I think part of it is, the guy played a lot of college football. He was in a lot of those pressure cooker types of situations where I realize it's a massive step up in class going from the college game to the NFL game. But, he never really looked super rattled in most of those games at the collegiate level. I know there were some that maybe didn't go in his favor or something like that, but it wasn't because he was rattled. Maybe a defensive back just made a play or something like that. He's a guy who seems to be really, really composed. And, to shy away from just using cliches about it, he does feel different. And I think a lot of it has to do with the fact that he's mobile, right? He is able to extend plays and guys are able to come back to the football. Guys lose coverage, stuff like that. He's a guy that doesn't just have to go to his first read. He can go to the second, third, maybe even fourth read. And I think that's something that when you talk about, going on the road in the playoffs, kind of overcoming some of those things where, the protections break down or whatever, it's important to have that kind of skill set. And Daniels does.
Yeah, I would tend to agree. He seems to be unflappable, to use the term. I have been very wrong about this team throughout the entire year. So I am trying not to overcorrect and go in the other way. But I've been wildly impressed because I did have such low expectations coming into the
All right, fair enough. Adam, you're a Buckeyes guy. What do you make of the...
What's your worst nightmare?
If they actually lose the game,
I told him
and
keep telling this story. That what do I keep telling the story about, Adam? We were there having drinks during the Tennessee game, and I told him, I was like, if you had to choose, Ryan Day is going to lose like 2 more to Michigan, but he's going to win this national championship, and he had to think about it, and it's the worst scenario because they might win this thing, and then they're going to lose to Michigan next year. Oh, buddy.
They better not lose 5 in a row to Michigan. I'll just say that. Look, I think what really bothers me about this whole thing is they may be the national champion. They should be the national champion, right? They should beat this Notre Dame team. Riley Leonard is not on the level of the other quarterbacks they've beaten here already. And of course, they're over a touchdown favorite. So, the market just kind of implies they should win this thing. But it still bothers me that Michigan's going to go, yeah, well, we have a title and we beat you. So, what happened last season, Ohio State's going to have to rectify that here at some point. But I don't think I will have a bet on the game. I'm not going to do the emotional hedge. I'm not going to take Notre Dame. I don't think they're live enough for me to want to do that. But I also don't want to lay the 8.5 with Ohio State here either. Notre Dame's pass defense is very, very legit. Their defense as a whole is very legit. I don't think they score much on Ohio State, though, and that would probably be how the Buckeyes end up covering the 28-14 type of thing, like what they had against Texas. So, as more markets populate throughout the course of the week here, and this is kind of little bit of a dress rehearsal for the Super Bowl in terms of the offering that's going to be out there with all the player props and all that kind of thing. Notre Dame team total under is something that I may be kind of looking to key in on here, or looking to play, certain players under their player prop totals for Notre Dame, because I just don't think they find a lot of holes against this Jim Knowles defense, because frankly, nobody has, throughout the second half of the season here.
So just to confirm, even with the Buckeyes national championship, you're still not going to be satisfied. Okay, got it.
Can Ryan Day be the first coach to win a national championship get fired afterward?
Interesting. Yeah. Put that prop up too. Vile and nasty college basketball card. We have a minute here, but you have a bet. Go ahead, take it away.
Yeah, unfortunately, I had to find something here since I write an article Monday through Saturday over at vsin.com. A lot of SWAC, MEAC, Southland tonight. Deep one bid leagues here. I like NC Central. They're a 6-point favorite against Delaware State. It was 6.5 at DraftKings. I still use their odds because they're widely available to everybody with that article. But I think NC Central is just a better team. Delaware State settles for a lot of mid-range jumpers. North Carolina Central's rim and three rate, their shot attempts at the rim and their 3-point rate much higher. So I think that, in a game that should be played to probably about 70 possessions, they have a better chance at scoring in threes, and Delaware State's going to try to score with those long twos. So I think NC Central is worth a look tonight, -6 over Delaware State.
Very good. Follow Adam on X. He's at Skating Tripods. He does a great job up every single day on the website at vsin.com. Thanks, Adam. Good luck tonight.
Have a good one, guys.
Back at you. Our best bets, in pocket plays, and which team screws up the moneyline parlay next.